I want to talk about editing. No, not the word editing and how horrible it is to enunciate. Truly, the only word I think worse to say than editing is clasps. It's horrible to hear, horrible to say. We're gonna get past that. We're gonna talk about the different types of editing, because there are a lot of different clients who ask me, well, what's the difference between proofreading and developmental editing and copy editing? Let's talk about it. I like to think of editing as a spectrum. On this end, we have proofreading. On this end, we have developmental editing. And right in the middle, we have copy editing. Proofreading is what we think of when we think of Grammarly, right? Grammarly is a great tool that you can use to look over your writing to make sure that your syntax is good for the most part. I mean, it's limited, but it can look over your syntax, make sure you're not using too much passive voice. It corrects your spelling errors, your grammar errors, right? That's proofreading. Now, I don't recommend using Grammarly over a human proofreader if you have the means to do so, but it's pretty much the same thing. That's what it's doing, right? Then on the other end of the spectrum, we have developmental editing, and that is where you're basically in a partnership with your editor. Not only is your editor looking for grammar errors and syntax errors and just spelling errors, but they're also reading it as a beta reader and as somebody who is knowledgeable about writing and storylines, or if it's a scientific article, research. They're looking at it from that perspective and giving their 2 cents. So let's say you're writing a story and they could say something like, this character is supposed to be 35, but they're acting like a 12-year-old. Maybe we should make them more mature. Or if it's a scientific article, where did you get these stats from? Please, let's do some more research on it. So there's a lot more of an active role in the developmental editing process. They are, they're not quite writing. They can rewrite sentences, but they're much more active than just your regular proofreader. And then in the middle, you have your copy editing. And that is where the person is going to look for grammar errors, syntax errors, spelling errors. And they're also going to maybe reword some sentences, but they're not going to be as creative. If you have a character that's acting like a 10-year-old when they're supposed to be 25, they're probably not going to say anything unless you ask them. They're more so looking just to make sure that everything flows nicely, reads nicely, that you're using your line breaks, all that fun stuff. So those are the differences. And a lot of clients, they come to us and they're expecting developmental editing, but they'll say proofreading because they don't realize the difference. And there is a huge difference, not only in price, because it takes much more time to developmental edit than proofread, but just in expectations. When somebody comes to me and says developmental editing, it's like, yeah, game on, that's my favorite. Game on, we get to be creative. So yeah, that's the difference. It's pretty straightforward, but not a lot of people know.